All right, man. So, yeah, early morning this morning. Did you get up and get to the gym?
I did.
Get it in?
Got up at 5:50. Got to the gym at 6:05. Buddy was waiting on me. He was wanting to hit legs. I saw him get out of the car with his knee sleeves on. So I was like, "You hitting legs?" He said, "Yeah." I have a game tomorrow, so I'm not.
Saturday morning,
yeah,
early.
I'm not hitting legs. Yeah, so I was like, no. So
he said, "I ain't no."
So I hit arms. I did leg press with him. So we started off with a plate or two. Went up to. I was only going to go up to 4. He threw on a 5th. I got 3 reps of that and was like, I'm good.
Yeah, too early, man. I'll say no disc blown before noon.
Yeah, if I'm lifting fasted, then I'm probably hitting arms. I might hit some chest.
I mean, a small muscle group, right?
Yeah, I'm not.
Man, I went in this morning and it's a 24 hours, so nobody was working in there, so there was no music, and it was just it was quiet, but my workout, man. The 20 minutes, I'm done. So by the time, boom, I sang a couple of songs and kept everybody at bay. All right, hey, let's do one. You ready?
Yeah, let's go.
So welcome back, everyone. Dr. J here with Cam. Another episode of Flip the Script. So Cam, what are we chatting about today, brother?
I was kind of thinking about vitamins. I've upped my vitamin game a lot in the past couple weeks. I know what I'm running right now. I'm kind of doing, obviously, fish oil. I'm doing Ligaplex 1 and 2. I'm doing.
So you're doing a mineral supplement.
Magnesium. I'm doing, obviously, creatine, glutamine, zinc. When I go to sleep with more magnesium. Good. And then maybe a few others I'm slipping. But I wanted to see what you would tell just the average Joe, what they kind of, what's the baseline if they want to get real healthy and, easy. Something easy.
I get that often. They'll ask me, okay, some people, especially early on, 20 supplements is overwhelming. Personally, I do that easily every morning.
Yeah,
right?
I sent it to my buddy, and I was like, look at the stack. And he was like, you're not taking that. I was like, I am.
But, the difference there is that everything that we're taking, there's a reason why we're taking that particular supplement. We know what we're wanting to get out of that supplement. So it's not difficult for us to consume that. The average person, that's overwhelming, right? Which is why they make those ridiculous vitamins like Centrum and One a Day. For those people who basically you have actually nothing in there, but they can say they took their vitamin, right? And then their day is basically done, and so is their nutrition for that day. So, and I write this in my second book, Pain-Free Living. I mentioned that for that person that just wants to have something that's basic to get started with, or something that's good for maintenance. And that is a multivitamin. Okay. Whole food multivitamin is the key, right? The whole food multivitamin that I recommend to my patients, the ingredients is 18 raw foods. So, I mean, do you really need a supplement after that? And in those 18 raw foods, you have things like liver, beets, brewer's yeast, pea vine, vegetables, and everything is organic. And in that also combines your minerals. Now, from there, that's the multi that I recommend to my patients that I use. Then you want a mineral, because the body has to have minerals. Vitamins need minerals. Minerals need vitamins. So there, my recommendation is some form of a trace mineral. The Ligaplex that you were talking about that you're taking, that's magnesium, manganese, selenium, and the other basic minerals. The body has to have minerals like so each cell has to have minerals just to hold the structure together. Minerals hold you up, right? You're basically a mass of protein, which would just be a blob on the floor without minerals. The minerals make the spine to hold the structure together. Your cells have to do the same thing. That's what minerals do in your cells. So therefore, we need a mineral. The next thing I recommend is what you were talking about earlier with the fish oils. Some form of a polyunsaturated fatty acid. Fish oil is good. Krill oil is good. Flaxseed. That basically encompasses the primary things your body needs food-wise. So if you want to keep it simple, that's it. And that covers the basis. And then from there, we add on. I'm a big fan of the B vitamin. So my multi that I use myself is basically a B vitamin with a supplemental multivitamin around it. But its primary structure is that B vitamin. And in that vitamin supplement that I use, again, the primary product that's in it, liver. Liver has all 25 plus B vitamins, and the second ingredient in there is brewer's yeast. Again, all 25 plus B vitamins, and again, food. So that's why I say it definitely makes a difference in that supplement. Good question. You want to go whole food organic anytime you possibly can.
Okay. So I know people, they always hear like B vitamins, but they don't really, I don't think, know what they do, but more so like how it makes you feel. But like, I don't know if you've ever seen Duck Dynasty, but the older guy, Uncle Si, he said that he's like, back in the Vietnam War, they used to give us a shot of B12. We'd stay up for 3 days. And I was like, interesting. Well, there was a product I took, and it was literally just straight B12 one time. And I was like, I'm done drinking energy drinks. And it was amazing. I get better sleep now, so I deal with it. But
there was that energy drink. What was it? It was the B something energy drink. And it's still out now.
Oh, it's a B12 shot?
No, it's that little energy drink. It
had 5 hour energy?
5 hour energy. Okay, yeah, for example, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of loaded with the B. Now,
caffeine.
But let's clarify that, in caffeine, right?
Yeah.
So your B vitamin, now here's the problem with the B vitamin. Most of your B vitamins, especially when they say this complex B, those are not organic Bs most of the time. So they're isolates. Usually you have 6 to 9 of the Bs. But again, we're talking an isolate. Most of the time, those are made out of coal tar. So they can call it organic because, well, it came from the earth, right? But these are isolates. You get that really bright colored P, and you might get an energy boost for a short period of time, but the body really can't utilize that. So that's a really good topic to bring up. You know what they're doing now? You know what also now they're starting to make these B vitamins out of? This is gross. Fructose.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's new now.
That's wild.
Yes, right? So here, you leave it to unregulated supplementation, right? So that's why I said when you're looking at these I take a B complex. Watch for the B complex. Because when you look at the label, you're going to look and you're going to see probably 6 to 9 isolated Bs, B1, B2, B3, B6. When you look at an organic vitamin, typically, you won't see a large list of the isolated B vitamins in it because you're going to see food. And when you see food in there derived from food, then, because in nature, nothing really comes in 500 milligram.
Right.
It's a scary thing when you see that, right?
Right. I was just
That's
thinking
when
about that.
you got you an isolate, and you want to watch out for those, right? And I write that too in the first book, Light Your Fire. I make it real simple for people. You see these things in a vitamin, you're probably looking at a store-bought isolate, right?
So one of the things to look out for is if it says a certain milligram of B12, for example, it's probably just lab-made or whatever.
Good, exactly. That's a good point. Now, the B12 is good. It's good for building blood. It helps the cells themselves go through their full growth cycle. So, but for a lot of people, and sometimes when I will tell the patients, we want to get you on a B vitamin. Oh, I take a sublingual B, which is basically the B12, but because that's what they know, right? And it's the same thing when blood work. You'll get your B12 tested, and then they seem to have stopped at the essential B vitamins at B12. When they started going with the essential vitamins, they looked at those things like pellagra and the other diseases that were associated with certain Bs. Those were the ones that we could identify. It's the ones it's the other 25 plus that synergistically work together that your body's got to have. B vitamin deficiency is rampant in our society. One of the signs of a B vitamin deficiency is morbid fears. Something bad's going to happen. Anxiety, depression as well. And B vitamin deficiency, one of the major causes of B vitamin deficiency, ready for this? Bread consumption. So who doesn't consume bread today, right?
Is that just like carbs causing that, or is it something that they're putting in the bread specifically?
No, it's what they're taking out of the bread. It's a good question, brother.
Interesting.
It's what they're taking out of the bread. So with the bread, they have to take the germ out because the germ is where all those B vitamins are. So they take that out so they can keep it on the shelf for days and weeks on end. Otherwise, it goes rancid, right? Then they fortify it with a synthetic B1 or B2. Now, when your body consumes this bread now, it's like, where's my food? So it's very interesting how the body will do this. It will start to leach vitamins out of the body, trying to make something of this thing. But by then, it's through the stomach, into the small intestine, and you're actually causing a deficiency.
Is that similar to what, I know one time you had talked to me about how they do that with milk to give it a longer shelf life. Yeah. Is that the same thing? Because you were telling me about
That's
how
what it's all
they
about.
take out the calcium.
They take the food out.
So it's not just bread.
No, you take the enzymes out, it's going to break down. That's why in your grandmother's day, you brought food home, you ate it. Because it was in there for about 2 or 3 days, and then the enzymes would break down, and that's why that's great for digestion and assimilation. So when you, but if you're trying to keep it on the shelf like they are for days on end for the consumer, well, then there can't really be that much alive in it. You follow me? Which is another reason why we are obese, overweight, yet starving to death in this country, because there's no nutrients there. And that's why we wind up with things like acid reflux and problems associated with that, because we don't have any enzymes in our gut anymore, because we're using them all up trying to break down these fake foods, right? Because they're not in the food anymore. So that's kind of, again, one of those situations where, where was acid reflux for the most part 60 years ago?
Well, it's like
right?
our stomachs are satiated, but our organs are screaming for nutrients.
That's
and fuel.
right. Yeah, exactly. We look like we are eating too much, but yet we are starving on the inside, right?
Wow.
Yeah, super fat on the outside, super skinny on the inside. Or then you have the fatty liver we're talking about, skinny on the outside, fat on the inside. So, but so that's the simple with that. With that, you want a multivitamin. A form of a mineral, and if you keep it to a skinny, then a polyunsaturated fatty acid, and that covers basically the major nutrients that the body is looking for on a daily basis. I think, you asked me that question. You're looking from birth to the grave is basically the same vitamin. Because if you're eating food, there is really no ideal vitamin for a prenatal, really, than there is for a geriatric. If they're getting real food, think about babies. Let's go back 200 years. What did they eat? Well, there was no formula, right? So basically the parents ate the food, chewed it up, and guess what? Gave it to the baby. So their bodies are designed to take in the nutrients that we are.
Right.
They just don't have the teeth to break it down, right? And then create the enzymes to digest it. So think about it. How did they? Well, now we puree food now.
Right.
Well, what did they do 200 years ago when they didn't have a blender, right? How did they feed the babies? Well, they breastfed most of the time because there was no other option. There was no formula, right? So that's a great way to get the nutrients in from the mom to the baby. But if not, that's how they fed them. It's the same way the bird. Birds, what do they do?
Right.
They eat it, right? It's every species on the planet for the baby gets it through the digestion of the enzymes through the parent. Right?
Oh, I bet that's a topic right there, baby formula. I mean, if think about it, they're just pumping in all the synthetic stuff in the most pivotal
now,
time.
And all these allergies, you got it, brother. Yeah.
But look at all like the like when you're a baby, first 2-3 years, most pivotal part of growth in a human lifespan, and they're just getting fed with this synthetic powder. It's
right.
like
no nutrient whatsoever, and you're right. That's the growth, especially the brain growth, right then, right?
Oh my gosh!
I mean, there's a reason why the buffalo gives birth and the calf stands up immediately, right?
Right.
We don't do that, and there's a reason why we don't. We're under the protection of the parent, and the same thing with the brain development. That area of the brain for stabilization. In the lower aspect of the brain, it takes a little time to develop. That's why most babies are walking at 9 months if they're lucky. Most could be a year. And those lazy boys who like mom to carry them around might make it 2 years, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, and that all comes down to the development of, like you said, of how quickly though they need those nutrients to grow, and if they don't, well, it can be years before we actually see what happens from the deficiency of some of those vitamins and minerals and nutrients before they show up in the child. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so regarding cruciferous, you told me this maybe 5 years ago. It's been a long time, but you're telling me how it is the best thing for fighting cancer. And I was thinking about a friend of mine, and her mom had breast cancer and grandmother and all this, and how it's crazy hereditary. And I was like, I got to get her on that cruciferous immediately, you know?
You know what? Well, good point. As a matter of fact, hey, let's take one now, all right? And
Yeah.
I'll talk about that estrogen 216 relationship. I know, blah, 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 but basically it's really kind of simple. They're methyl donors, and methyl groups help prevent proteins from expressing themselves that are genetically predisposed. How do you say that word? Predisposition to. So let's do that. So we're talking about here. You're talking about the cruciferous. Now, Cameron, here's your one.
Yeah, I want to show it to the. I don't know if the camera can see the detail of it or not. But
Well, show how small this pill is first, all right?
It's green powder in there. It's not a chalk pill.
This is
It's not-
kale
yeah.
and Brussels sprouts. So right here in this little tiny tablet is 2.5 gallon bucket of kale and Brussels sprouts. And when you open it up, you can smell the kale and Brussels sprouts. So how easy is that? Of course, now this is created by a vacuum, 17-inch vacuum, right, where the boiling point is 72. So basically what they do is they get all the water out of the plant, and this is what you're left with. So right now, I'm getting ready to take 2.5 gallons of kale and Brussels sprouts. How easy was that? Now,
Yeah, because I'm not eating.
pretty
that.
much there's my vegetables for the day, and probably yours and my neighbors too, right? So for those people who just can't Brussels sprouts, I'm like anti-Brussels sprouts. No, I'm sorry.
I'm anti-greens, and it's a
Okay.
problem. That's
So
why I take
that's how easy
yeah.
that was. Now let's go to the multivitamin we were talking about. Here's your multivitamin with your Super B in there. So here you go. Have that one, right? So here's another one. This is all encompassed right in here. Multi-B vitamin. It's time to take our supplements anyway. Do. Then the other thing, the polyunsaturated fatty acid. In this case, it is a form of fish oil loaded with that EPA and that DHA for the brain. Okay.
Oh, tell me that story about you had a
you
patient
go.
son. You had a patient son, and he started taking high dose fish oil from you, and he got off his ADHD.
got
medicine.
off his ADHD medication, and one morning he forgot to take it and went to school, and he came home and said, "Dad, I forgot to take my fish oils this morning." He could tell, right?
Is that not wild?
So, but you know the thing with that, and we need to get back if we have time to on the cruciferous, but
Yeah, we got.
the thing is, listen, you know, the knowledge is out there for all this, all these things. When you look at a heart valve problem, always think of B vitamin deficiency. Any muscle-related issue, always think B vitamin. Nerve-related, always think B vitamin. So mitral valve prolapse, hey, you know, arrhythmias of the heart, B4. Man can't make B4, so guess what the FDA says? No, you can't. That's not a vitamin, right? Because they can't isolate it. But that's great for heart rhythm. So a lot of these things can be done.
So anyone's granddad with a pacemaker, which both of mine have one.
They're always a sign of a B vitamin deficiency,
Yeah,
right?
take
This is
the
what I'm
B-
saying. So
yeah.
people, you know, we talked about this metabolic disorders. That's what all these are. So in reality, there's an answer for these things. You have to find the doctor who understands that. And doctors out there too understand, including my fellow chiropractors, my one-legged chiropractors, as I call them. There's a lot to be said. Spinal function, an absolute must for health. But the nutrients are not going to be delivered via the adjustment. So a healer must address both the nervous system and the nutritional component as a chiropractor that's encompassing the patient, in my opinion, the whole patient. So finding those doctors who are into this and who understand that, there is your answer to, again, maybe 80% of everything that's ailing us in the world, actually, metabolic related issues, especially your chronic problems that we're dealing with in healthcare. So, good point. I don't know what I rambled off on that one about. But yes. Now let's get back to that cruciferous vegetable. So the way that cruciferous works, they're methyl donors. And in methyl supplementation, what they do is they will often prevent a protein such as a cancerous protein from expressing itself if they're adequately supplied to the body. And that's why you have things now like the pharmaceuticals come out with a product called DIM and something 13. I can't think of the name of it right now. It is in my first book. I talk about this because now they're starting to see the importance of this. And some of my patients who have come in post-cancer, breast, uterine, their OBGYNs are telling them, look, you need to use this product to prevent it from coming back. That's powerful stuff. And like I said, it's great to see them coming on board with this because this is something that we've been prescribing to our patients for 10, 20 years now. And the studies are out there. What we have is with that, there's a measure of the estrogen 2s, which are known as perhaps your good estrogens, and your estrogen 16s. Those are the ones that you don't want to have elevated. So studies have found that those people who are more prone to that, and actually the beautiful thing about this test for a cancer test for women is it's a urine test. Not invasive at all. But you have to find a doctor who would do it, right? Who's doing it, who understands it. So anyway, the estrogen 216s, they found that the cruciferous vegetables, your kale, your Brussels sprouts, your broccoli, that's where they really start with cauliflower, that improves your estrogen 2s and decreases significantly, like 500%, the 16s. That's massive stuff for prevention, right? In the first place. Same thing, in my opinion, prostate in men is an estrogen-related issue. So why wouldn't you just pop one of those a day for overall prevention, right? Okay. So that's the beauty about the supplementation for, and again, we're looking at food to prevent the majority of our diseases. Go back to the beginning of time. It's not rocket science. We just got away from that over the past 50, 60 years. Before that, in 30s and 40s, there was a lot of studies going on anti-aging and vitality and longevity. Then came the new healthcare profession of geriatrics, and everything went to let's treat all these things associated pharmaceutically with the aging process instead of preventing the aging process in the first place, people.
Yeah, it went from treating 80, 90, 80, now it's 70, 60, 50, now it's all the way to 12.
That's right, so exactly. And a lot of those things that 50 years ago, your grandmother and great-grandmother, which are probably still alive in their 90s, they started developing these disease-related problems. But even now today, I have a patient came in the other day, 97 years old. This guy is on one medication, which I'm controversial whether he really need to be on. Exercises twice a week. So it's doable. And most of my patients that come in and they're over 90, this is a cool thing, Cam. Most of them aren't taking a medication. Or they may be on something like a water pill, like I write about in my first book with my grandmother for blood pressure. So, that's because they got through the 70s and the 80s, because once the 80s come along, it really got to be a mess. And now, like you're saying, you got 30-year-olds, and you got buddies of yours who aren't even 30 who are on blood pressure meds already.
Yeah.
Right? That's not the real world.
Yeah.
Well, it is this world, but it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
That's the beauty about supplements. And so people ask me, well, do you really have to supplement? Well, you know what? No, you don't. But who eats that way? Who eats perfectly, right? Who eats liver? So let's just face it. I mean, the better you eat, the less supplementation you have to take. But I will say this straight up. I use probably easily $1,000 worth of supplements a year. All right? I mean, you're going to. But guess what I don't take at 64?
Right.
No medications. So I supplement what I want to so I don't have to take that medication that I don't want to. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the cool thing about knowing your supplements. Find you a doctor who knows, or learn it. I mean, study out there. Careful what you see on the internet and who's saying it. Because a lot of times you see these commercials on television. Number one recommended vitamin by pharmacists, blah, blah, blah. Well, listen, pharmacists are pharmaceuticals. Nothing against them, right? There's those who do the compounding stuff, but the majority of them really don't have an education in that either. Mm-hmm. So be careful. You saw it on television. Be wary. You don't see broccoli commercials on TV.
Right.
They work, right? So, yeah. Careful with that one. And also, too, when you look at the two most popular vitamins on the planet, Centrum and One Day, those actually make airtime during the 5 o'clock pharmaceutical hour, news hour, right? How did they get on the news? Well, how about Squibb and Bayer make those two, right?
Yeah.
And it sounds too good to be true. One a day, you bet your butt it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man, that's a good thing. Boy, supplements, we could go on and on and on. You got another question?
We still have, I mean, we're at 26 minutes, but we can go as long as we want. I mean, because I do want to talk about EPA, DHA, and some of its functions, but just for people that don't know a ton of about biology, chemistry, or anatomy, what kind of like positive side effects will they get from taking fish oil? I know brain function.
Well, first of all, let's start with the brain, right? Mm-hmm. Majority of the brain is fat, okay? And the thing that it wants the most is that DHA. So, and of course, the same. So the combination, and usually the good ones are going to come in together in a blend of 2-to-1 blend of EPA, DHA. It just depends, but you want around 1,000 milligrams for maintenance of your combination DHA, EPA. But anything skin related. Any hair. The beautiful thing about the longevity of the chromosome itself is the antennas on the end of the chromosome known as telomeres. And the longer your telomeres, the longer your cells are going to live. The longer your cells live. Does that make sense? The longer you live.
Which book is that book right here?
The one on the book on telomeres is not in that stack.
So I remember you telling me about that. I was going to show the book, but
it's a great book written by 2 PhD doctors, and it's getting a lot of press now. Well, what they found was that you can slow down the progression of the degeneration of those telomeres by 33% with the use of EPA and DHA. That's massive.
33% just with that.
Anti-aging. That's the
clinical
studies. Yes, that's the one. Wow. The one thing they've been able to isolate to say, hey, you can slow down. But think about it, because it's at the cellular level, it's probably the most anti-inflammatory thing you'll put in the body. And of course, inflammation is your leading cause of death.
Well, it's like when you go on carnivore and you're eating all fats versus carbs. What does everyone say? My knee pain went away. Yeah. Wrists feel great. No inflammation. Brain fog's cleared. All these things, and it's like, well, all that fat.
Good point. I'll tell you something. There's a great documentary that's been out for 10 years, and it's called The Perfect Human Diet. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I think it's on Amazon. But anyway, Google this one, because this guy wound up with a heart attack at age 18 or something like that. And of course, he went through all the different routes to try to figure out what was going to get him the healthiest. And what I love about this particular documentary is there was no dogs in the hunt. All right, there was these were basically, they studied the man since the beginning of time. So when they would dig up these remains, and they wanted to find out what got us from the beginning of man to here. And so it's very, very interesting documentary. And we learned that if we went into things like the vegan diet, if we just started that thousands of years ago, we wouldn't be here today, because the brain would have shrunk, and we wouldn't have been able to, very interesting, figure out how to put a point on a stick, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we were. We were meat eaters primarily. And the really cool thing was, when they did consume an animal, the first thing they ate in that animal, the brain.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. What's in there? How about cholesterol, that thing that's supposed to be so evil, right? But all that energy's there. And now they may not eat again for a week, right? So they wanted to get their maximum energy through that fat and that cholesterol in that brain. So that's enough said right there, people, okay? It's the same thing when you look also with nutrition back then. All your teeth are supposed to fit in your head, pal, right? You're designed that way. Mm-hmm. So now that when we're getting wisdom teeth pulled out and extracting teeth, that's not normal. Mm-hmm. Our skulls have shrunk. because of the lack of fat, because our brain has shrunk. So now the teeth don't fit. That cool stuff.
It's pretty wild.
That is pretty wild, right? So, that's why I like this book, because it basically says what got you here. So when people ask me sometimes what's the perfect diet, I say it's the diet that got us here. And you want to really look at a horrible diet, go back about the last 200 years. It is the worst. And of course, now we talk about the last 60 years. That's when basically, if we continue this, we'll be extinct if we continue this diet, right?
Yeah, it was like, say, well, weren't y'all eating candy as kids in 1970? Yes. But we were also eating food that was untainted. Mm-hmm. Now you're eating all the sugar, and everything you're eating is tainted.
The sugar consumption now is 200 plus fold of what we were eating back then.
Right.
Because most of it's tucked away under fructose and processed foods, and not even labeled. I mean, when we were eating candy back then, we knew it was candy. But now even your processed flours are worse for you, and really, than some sugar is straight up. When I was talking about bread has a glycemic index of 72 and table sugar 65.
Yeah.
You're better eating damn sugar out of a sugar bowl, really, if you want to keep your weight down, than you are to eat a slice of whole wheat bread.
It's just weird.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I said. It gets.
Yeah.
You may live longer on crack. I don't know. I hadn't been there. But, I mean, if you think about it, that's what sugar is. It is an addicting.
Oh, did you hear about the study they did with rats? It was they gave them cocaine and sugar, and they picked sugar like every time.
Oh, every time? Yeah.
I was like, oh, no.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's why I say, when you look at, I hate to say that, but, sometimes when you look at somebody's on, 6, 8, 10 meds, they're shot out. They're not that much different than the junkie on the street, pal. I mean, really, they can stand about as long as he can, right? A lot of them are just.
Oh, those crackheads are resilient. Those videos of them carrying a fridge on a bicycle.
They all got about the same number of teeth in their head, too. So, think about it. The reality of that, though, you're doing about the same thing to your body with the chemicals. And, of course, the livers are being, they're running out of time early. Right.
Yeah.
And that's why, like I said in the book, you average 40-year-olds on 4 meds, average 60-year-olds on 6, but you don't find a 90-year-old on 9. No. If they're 90, like I was telling you about those patients, they're either doing hardly anything, right, or none. And that's the key. Yes. So, man, we could go on and on. Woo, Lordy.
We'll do a part 2 on the vitamin.
Yeah, we'll do this one again. Hey, always, everybody, thanks for taking some time out of your day to spend it with us. I hope there was something here that you can use. And if there's something else that we didn't cover you want us to maybe dive a little deeper in, as always, shoot us, shout out, email, and we would love to go over it with you. Because, we're going to just keep on keeping on with this stuff. And until next time, as always, Cam, Joey, signing out. Have yourself a great day so you're not missing one.